Members only? How long you been wearing that? Oh, good.
David Chase didn't end The Sopranos with ambiguity. He ended it with a punchline. And we've all been the joke for 20 years.
Onion rings. Best in the state, as far as I'm concerned.
In the 2 decades since The Sopranos cut to black, audiences have behaved like medieval scholars poring over sacred scripture, except the text in question involves onion rings, a members-only jacket, and Journey blaring from a diner jukebox. Every year, a new sect emerges, preaching its gospel of what really happened to Tony Soprano. Was he whacked? Did he live? Was it all a dream, a metaphor, a hallucination, a therapy session? The only certainty is that ambiguity remains the show's most successful hit.
Members only? How long you been wearing that? Oh, good.
Among the more stubborn heresies is the members-only jacket theory, a fan favorite that insists Tony's mysterious killer sits just a few feet away, sweating through a beige jacket as he prepares to send New Jersey's favorite mob boss into the great beyond. It's a tidy explanation, neat, literal, and completely at odds with both logic and The Sopranos' method of storytelling. Let's start with the obvious.
Taste the wares, email.
Mob hits in The Sopranos are not elaborate theatrical productions. They are swift, clinical, and rarely mistaken for interpretive art. New York's assassins don't linger at restaurant counters hoping their mark feels sentimental enough to order onion rings before dying. They walk in, pull the trigger, and walk out. Even the death of Phil Leotardo, an over-the-top public spectacle, was carried out with brutal efficiency. So why then would this supposed hitman risk exposure by loitering under fluorescent lighting, making small talk with the counterstaff while Tony Soprano sits a few feet away? A walking catalog of paranoia.
Because every time we watch Godfather, when Michael Corleone shoots...
The Godfather homage, of course, gets its obligatory mention. Every film student with a keyboard has pointed out the bathroom parallel. Michael Corleone retrieves a gun from a restroom and murders his enemies at a restaurant table. But the idea that David Chase, who spent 6 seasons skewering the very mythology that The Godfather created, would end his magnum opus with a straightforward copy of it, is almost insultingly simplistic. The Holston sequence borrows the aesthetic of the Godfather scene, not its mechanics. The tension is cinematic, not operational.
Tony watches Godfather 2 all the time.
Chase is toying with the audience, dangling every visual cue that screams a hit is coming, only to deny them the satisfaction of resolution. And yet, the disciples of the members-only theory persist, layering increasingly elaborate conspiracies to justify the jacket's symbolic weight. Some claim the hit was ordered by Butchie in New York as revenge for Phil's death, a poetic bit of mob tit-for-tat, killing Tony in front of his family just as Phil was executed in front of his. Others, straying further into absurdity,
suicide runs in families,
proposed that Eugene Pontecorvo's family orchestrated it in retaliation for his forced suicide. One can only admire the imagination required to turn Eugene's tragic subplot into an operatic vendetta. Still others treat the members-only jacket not as fashion but as prophecy. Its wearer, they argue, physically resembles Eugene. Never mind that the man was a pizza shop owner cast for his authentic, unpolished presence, not his symbolic resemblance. Apparently, in the Sopranos universe, resemblance equals reincarnation. The jacket becomes an omen, the diner a stage for karmic bookkeeping. Chase, it seems, left nothing to metaphor. He apparently sent a man in a nylon windbreaker to deliver divine justice. The problem with these literalist interpretations is not that they lack imagination, it's that they lack proportion. The finale's brilliance lies precisely in its refusal to deliver closure. David Chase built an ending that collapses the distinction between Tony's paranoia and ours. The camera shows us what Tony sees: door chimes, strangers' faces, his daughter struggling to park, and then it stops. Not fades, not cuts away, stops.
Oh my God, Daddy, where is he? Please let him be all right.
The point isn't whether Tony dies, it's that he could die at any moment, and after a lifetime of blood and denial, he's too numb to notice the difference. Of course, not all theories are entirely without poetry. The Meadow as guardian angel hypothesis, for instance, at least attempts to grapple with the show's emotional undercurrent rather than its surface logistics. It proposes that Meadow saves her father 3 times throughout the series, first by deterring Phoebe Petrulio's hit in college, then by removing the FBI's bugged lamp in Another Toothpick, and finally by calling Tony back from the brink of death during his coma in Mayhem. Each act of salvation, the theory argues, finds its final echo in Holston's, where Meadow's failure to park mirrors her failure to save him one last time. It's a neat symmetry, albeit one that overestimates Chase's interest in celestial allegory. Tony Soprano was not a man to whom angels appeared, guardian or otherwise. He was the devil at the dinner table, and the show never let him forget it. More intriguing, perhaps, is the notion that The Sopranos is filtered entirely through Dr. Melfi's perception, a psychological Watson to Tony's Holmes.
And now, since the therapy is kaput.
By this reading, the series begins with therapy and ends when therapy ends. Everything in between is filtered through the fragments Tony revealed or Melfi imagined. The abrupt ending would therefore mirror Melfi's own act of closure. When she finally cuts him off, so too do we. The audience loses access to Tony's world because Melfi no longer cares to hear it. It's an elegant literary conceit, though, like all Sopranos theories, it collapses under the weight of Chase's fundamental cynicism.
You never saw Carlo.
Tony learns nothing. Melfi learns nothing. The viewer learns that some people are simply beyond redemption, and even therapy can't cure moral rot. And yet, the metaphysical interpretations refuse to die. Some argue that Tony has been dead, or dying, since Uncle Junior's shooting in Members Only. The final season, they claim, unfolds in a liminal dreamscape where Tony, neither alive nor dead, lingers in purgatory. It's Schrodinger's Soprano. As long as the screen stays black, Tony exists in both states simultaneously. That, at least, has a certain grim poetry. Others, perhaps weary of overanalysis, wave the whole thing off as just a TV show. But that misses the point entirely. The Sopranos was never merely about mobsters. It was about America, masculinity.
You don't approve of therapy, Mr. Soprano.
And the way denial functions as a national pastime. To dismiss the finale as simple ambiguity is to ignore how precisely Chase calibrated it. The choice to kill the image instead of the man is deliberate. Tony's story ends not because a bullet finds him, but because the audience's gaze does. Our participation is revoked. The man who lived his life performing for others, boss, husband, patient, finally vanishes when no one is watching. Still, fans crave certainty, and certainty requires a shooter. Enter the members-only man, trembling at the counter, glancing at Tony, then slipping into the bathroom. The tracking shot follows him, because Chase knows we're watching, waiting for a gun that may never appear. It's cinematic misdirection, not forensic evidence. The man isn't a hitman, he's us, the audience, nervously circling Tony, desperate to see how it ends. The theories spiral futile, like conspiracies about who shot JFK. Some insist the hit was meticulously planned, with AJ or Rhiannon inadvertently giving away Tony's location. Others claim the shooter was merely scouting for the real hitmen waiting outside.
Artie, what are you doing?
There's even the perverse suggestion that Artie Bucco, eternal sad sack and culinary cuckold, pulled the trigger himself, finally reclaiming his dignity one hollow point at a time. These speculations, while occasionally hilarious, reveal a deeper truth. People cannot accept that ambiguity is the point. The mythology around Holston's mirrors the mythology Tony built around himself. Every character in The Sopranos spends years explaining, justifying, and revising their choices until the lies form a kind of armor. Fans, in turn, do the same with the show's ending, refusing to accept that sometimes the gun simply never goes off. Even so, the symbolic readings are irresistible. Tony's family, Carmela, AJ, Meadow, arrive one by one, their entrances synchronized like a grim pageant. Each is complicit in Tony's empire, yet sheltered from its reality. If Tony does die, Chase ensures they witness it, not as retribution, but revelation. His wife and children finally see the cost of the comfort they so dearly enjoyed. And if Tony lives, he must live with that knowledge. His own family as silent witnesses to the violence that underwrites their suburban peace. Either way, it's punishment enough. The diner itself functions as a stage of American normalcy, a chrome-plated shrine to nostalgia. Families eat sundaes. Lovers share fries. And in the corner sits a mob boss whose empire is rotting from the inside. Remember when, Tony once sneered, is the lowest form of conversation. Yet here he is, surrounded by the ghosts of his own past, living in a monument to remember when. The price of power, Chase reminds us, is to never truly move forward. In the end, perhaps the best theory is also the simplest. David Chase engineered the perfect unsolved mystery. He built a finale that could sustain endless interpretation without ever collapsing into a single answer. Tony Soprano both dies and doesn't die. He both sees it coming and never does. The cut to black is his perspective, and ours. Life ends mid-bite, mid-song, Mid-sentence. No last words, no grace notes, just silence.
So yes, one can argue that the man in the members-only jacket shot Tony Soprano. One can also argue that he was a nervous civilian waiting for a table. One can even argue, with a straight face, that Meadow was his guardian angel, or that Dr. Melfi wrote the whole thing. But the only argument that truly matters is the one Chase himself made, that life and television rarely give us clean endings. The screen went black. Everything stopped. And in that void, fans found something to fill. That's the genius of it. The show ended, and we never did. Because in the end, Tony Soprano isn't dead. He's immortal, doomed to sit forever in that booth, waiting for Meadow to park the car, while the rest of us keep replaying the door chime, wondering what it means. Nothing ever really ends, except your watch history. Subscribe.